We had a home in the village in a 20-acre land. So it was an agricultural land pertinent to the coast of the river. So our childhood was full of fun with the nature, with river water, and also adventures in the flood water whenever the river got swollen up in the rainy season. There were many risks as well. We kept a boat in the house. The most beautiful memory that I have of my childhood is I had very energetic, naughty siblings. I was a relatively contemplative and physically weaker child, so I used to like my own space and keep aloof. So evenings used to be very noisy in the house, but I remember walking alone in the courtyard and watching the twilight moments when I felt the golden hue of the sun on those touch me not plant which was just falling asleep. One incident I remember is my very naughty younger brother taking a parrot from the from her nest in the tree, and my father urging to put the parrot back in her nest because her children will miss it. And one of my brothers, my other younger brother, taking lesson from that, next day when we were going in the field, we had some sugarcane fields as well, which was an experimental cultivation, and a little sapling of the sugarcane got trampled by him and it got crushed under his feet, and he was suddenly taking aback and he was looking at the sapling, and I was just standing beside him. He was talking to the sapling, "I'm sorry, I must have hurt you, you are the young child of this plant." So such is the beautiful memory of childhood. And we because our house was 1 mile away from the school, while going to school we were asked to form a group and walk, and I was supposed to lead. In fact, I was physically smaller compared to my cousins and my siblings, but I was made responsible to lead because I was the quiet type. I would be considered as wiser in the group. I was older by age also, 1 or 2 years older from some members, 3-4 years older. So I used to take the responsibility of bringing them back and reaching them to the school, seeing that they don't veer away into pursuing a cow or pelting a stone at a mango tree, etc. So that rich childhood in a school where we were asked to spend time with other children in the leisure hours is something that I never forget. The beauty of friendship, the beauty of sharing, the beauty of being responsible to each other. Even till this day, these classmates and cousins keep in touch. Some of them are in Mumbai, some of them are in the village. They could not continue their studies because in rural India education is so poorly looked after. Our school had one pass out, which was me, whereas 57 students failed in one or another subject because for 2 years there were no teachers. They got transferred and nobody got replaced. So it made me determined to see that education as an empowerment should be made a birthright to everybody, and that these memories are still the links which make us connect to this day. And we have no other subject but to talk about all those adventures and pains and pleasures to consolidate that human bond. When I was in the final BSc, I was given a challenge by the teacher that why don't you study these areas of genetic diseases and prepare a module in the vernacular language. Now that was my kickstart to popular education in science, and I joined this Save the Western Ghat movement, which was led by Madhav Gadgil. Incidentally, he is in Pune, the scientist, and then also our local NGOs. But the most beautiful memory that I have is my meeting with this group of students when we went on this science elocution competition. I went like very low-lying because in the district level I topped, so I was sent to the state level, which was sponsored by Indian Institute of Science. That's how I got in connection with Gadgil sir and others. So I met this girl student from the other division. Normally maths students and biology students don't get to meet in this huge convent based college. She forced me She became my friend within no time. Then I came to know that she was a single parent child, and our bond became so strong. She became my inspiration for my growth. Transition from a school girl from the village to an adult lady in the city. She exposed me through her family connections to so many good experiences. But I am very sad to say today she is not with us anymore. But my friend Vidya was such a celebration of life that she wanted, whatever she wanted to know, she would read. If she didn't understand, she would come and tell me, you read this and tomorrow I am coming back to you, you have to explain to me. So her family had a huge library because they were very wealthy and they were scholars for many generations. Vidya would bring me this book on palmistry, and then she wanted to test my knowledge by using her palm as experiment. And whatever I told, more than what I knew her as a friend, came true within next 6 months. So she went and told all the girls. So afternoon experience was to meet other students and read their palms. And to this day, I have gained many friends because they remembered what I had said in those days as a learner coming true. So this was one of the most memorable experiences of my college days, and the rewards and other things which came along with that, the recognition and the large world of friends and human understanding that I gained from my experience through palmistry. So one of the most memorable incidents is this poor lady who was being harassed by her husband. When I started teaching law, she came to our law school through the legal aid, and I was spending 2 to 3 hours a day in the legal aid cell. Virtually I was the cell with the students. So I gave this challenge to the students, shall we solve this problem? So 10 of my students came with me and we helped that lady, including a little bit of intervention in her household to get her out of the situation and rehabilitate her and get her the justice. But to my dismay, later on there came a proposal for law reform competition. 10 of the same students hung on with me, and each one of them is so successful in their life. One is one of the lead criminal lawyers, the other is a single lady lawyer in Bangalore doing very well in real estate sector, another became a judge. So this is a very memorable incident for me, where as a teacher I was able to inculcate in them this commitment to public service. And later on, when I got the opportunity to teach in National Law School and then in Ireland, later on as the Dean of Symbiosis Law School, thousands of students when I met, these experiences of mine became the guiding light. I remember in Symbiosis when I had to directly guide PhD students, most of my students took a very impacting topic, or I converted them into impacting topic and made every student to look at the reform side of the law. How community can feel the limitation of the law and community can contribute to developing a law rather than the top-down approach. So using the legal education channel as a channel for changing the face of democracy and law in this country, whatever might be the extent of influence, came from my star students whom I never forget. In Symbiosis Law School, I came across a couple of girl students and good senior students as well, who influenced me in developing my research, who to this day remain as my extended family. The relationship changes. Sometimes I wonder whether I love my students more than my own son. So my son often says that as well. If it's a student, you pick the phone even in the middle of the night. So this is the way we teachers find our extended self in our students. One incident I still remember, a dozing student in the class, and I stopped my lecture and I asked that student to come and meet me. Because during the course of my lecture I used to give little snippets of poetry. I was citing Milan Kundera in that class. So he came to my cabin and he said that, do you know why I was dozing? The quote that you gave there about fallibility of human existence provoked my own life's memory from childhood, where I did not know my stepbrothers who were waiting for the school bus along with me in the bus stand, because both the parents had remarried and there were stepchildren who were kept away from each other. So he said it traumatized him. Today this boy is a senior judge in one of the leading courts in Kerala. I was so happy that I made that boy transformed from being very closed kind of person, grieving within, into a very open kind of person, expanding himself and considering that world is there to, world is his field and world is there to help him, and he has to bond and he has to make that first breakthrough. In 2000, about 2011, in the middle of the sleep, in the midnight, around midnight, I was woken up by this soul-changing dream, where I had my dead father guiding me to read a scripture and where to pause and where to put the comma and how to chant it. And then he also asked me to peep into some part of the dilapidated building, and I had the darshan, ultimate darshan of Shakti. So I couldn't believe if it was dream or if it was wakefulness. And then when I woke up, I ran the whole house in the middle of the night because I didn't know what to do, what to make of it. And for days together I would recall it and I would get into a state of trance. So finally I was trying to find an answer to it. I met astrologers, nobody was able to explain the dream. Then I started going on the net. I read about Kashmiri Saivism, I read about Shakti cult, because my father had never given the secrets of his spiritual practice to us, as he expired by the time I was doing my masters. So as I was browsing the net, I suddenly found the name of a guru who was from a place called Devipuram from Visakhapatnam, and the day I was browsing, he was in Pune, in his daughter's house. So I immediately called and I took an appointment. With my busy schedule, I could go only the next day, which was a weekend. And when I met him, I narrated the dream. He was able to explain to me that how the energy which is encircling, or the whole universe is full of energy and vibration, and then how it was indivisible and how it was interconnected, and my time had come to get into the spiritual practice. And incidentally, this gentleman expired recently, about a couple of years ago, at the ripe age of 91, and he had attained Siddhi in my hometown through some of the gurus who were known to my father. So I was thinking all the way from Mangalore to Pune to meet such connection was very, it was much beyond anybody's imagination, that serendipity or coincidence of that happening. Then from 2011 onwards, I was continuing in between with my work and family responsibilities. It was going on and off. Suddenly in 2016, my professor came to visit me. He is also in his 80s, and he told me, his wife is a sadhaka, and she told me that you need to complete something, because I had taken, both of them were not able to walk. With the help of my kind colleagues, we were able to wheelchair them into Shirdi Sai Baba's Sanctum Sanctorum. So they remembered on the way back, they said that you need to complete your sadhana. Without any invitation, the lady was speaking, and then she tried to connect me to somebody, but that somebody was not available. And then she found out that the person is in Pune itself. So my current preceptor is in Pune from the Anandamayi Ma tradition, and he initiated me into Sri Chakra. So what Devipuram's guru started at that time, he had sown as a seed, initially my father in the dream state, and then him, and now recently I was listening to on YouTube to one great Sri Chakra sadhak, Raja Chaudhary, and I was so amazed to see that he is the disciple of Amritananda, the guru whom I met in Pimpri in 2011. And Amritananda has made a temple which is now considered as a modern Shakti Pita. Incidentally, he was a senior scientist in Bark, who was woken up in the middle of the night by goddess, and he was driven to go to his hometown, and there he found a place where sea was meeting the cliff, and he created this Devipuram. So this spiritual sadhaka's experience and their path and those traditions, everything coming through the visit to Shirdi or some kind of connection to Shirdi, including Symbiosis and Pune, I feel is that experience of not to consider anything in your life, as Sainath always says, not to consider anything in your life as something that was not preordained. Everything is preordained. Maybe even this moment of my narrating this experience.